Alrighty, everybody. Today on the workbench is a Poulan 2450. As you can see by the name here, Poulan 2450. Unsure of the age, possibly 2011, 2012. Their serial numbers are kind of weird to decipher, so I'm not exactly 100% sure. What I do know is that it was given to a friend of mine by his stepmother. It wasn't running. I looked at another saw for him, which was a steel. Got that one going. Nothing wrong with that for the most part. Just needed a good cleaning. Went to go look at this one. Thought it could need a cleaning as well. As you can see, it's getting a thorough cleaning, but did end up finding the issue after rebuilding the carb. Lesson learned, go straight to the piston first. As you can see, is good and scored here. What it should look like is it should look like that. So a nice side-by-side of what it had and what it should be. Man, this isn't new. Trying to keep the cost down on this repair, so I got a used kit from eBay, which actually it was what came from eBay was the piston, the ring, the connecting rod, the capture pin ring for it, the cylinder that matches it, and actually it's in pretty good shape. I already took a wire brush to some of this to clean off some of the oxidation and the sealant that goes on here, the ring gasket maker, and the carburetor mount. So that's all that came with it. Pretty good price, knowing that that's pretty much all this is going to need to get this back up and running, working condition. Did a little bit to clean up in here for the most part. This is actually my first full, essentially a rebuild of a small motor like this. The carburetor's already been cleaned and rebuilt. That's good to go, because I thought maybe that was the main issue originally, was just the carburetor needed cleaning. So here we are. We're going to learn about this together and go through this process at the same time here. And now it's time to put everything back together. So I got new. This is an aftermarket bearing and seal kit, but it actually looks pretty good. Had good reviews, so I got that. Got a new air filter, got a new gas cap because the gas cap on here was leaking. The O-ring's leaking, and it was also missing the catch here, the little retainer. So that's all getting replaced. On this saw, before all of this, I replaced the gaskets on the carburetor, so the carburetor got rebuilt. I replaced the isolator spring, which this one actually mounted to the motor, broke, and it came as a kit of 3, so I replaced all 3 of the isolator springs. So that's why they got done, and that's it. Other than I sharpened the chain and cleaned the bar, but everything else is still. Oh, and the fuel lines. That's originally it wouldn't run because, well, the fuel lines were just falling out, rotted through. So the fuel lines and the fuel filter also got replaced. So trying to keep this down to a minimum. I know these saws don't bring a high value, but it's obviously worth more running than not running, which is the whole point of this cleaning. So let me grab my paper towels. I believe this is symmetrical. It looks symmetrical to me. So we're going to go and assume that it is, even though it's probably not a safe assumption. Let's pop off these seals and bearings. The only reason why I'm replacing these is like this one. This one's all mashed up here, so I don't know what's wrong with it. Go ahead and put that on. Okay. And we got to figure out how to get this spring off. Spring is off. That allows us to get that bearing off. This also looks like a piece of foam. This one on. Okay. just scoot this back down on. Spring is now in the groove. Okay. Spring is in the groove. So that is done. All right, next step, before I put it back in there, we're going to put the piston on. Now, knowing that clutch goes on bar side, so this, there's the clutch, that goes on this side. That is, oh, whichever one has the keyway. That's got the keyway. Okay. Goes in like this. So that means if we're looking at where the ring notch is, which is right there, that's going to go on the intake side. So that's going to be back toward me like this, because exhaust is up toward the front. So it's going to sit like that. Okay, so we got it started. Intake back toward me. Okay, it's going to go on. I know this is not the precise way to do this, but it's a way, not the way. That's up against this side's ring, the retaining ring there. So now I gotta get the other ring in. Actually not a pain. Got it. So that is now in and seated. That will not let this go back. It will just out. Just good. All right. So that's in. Good to go. Put that in there. Next up, we got to do a little gasket making here. Ultra Black from Permatext, gasket maker, and we're going to put some right on here. That's just the mating surface and nothing where that gasket actually goes. I'm going to drop this in upside down, leave that off. Okay. Since that is in, it's going to have to get squished together with the new seals. So we're going to gently, carefully, and gingerly put this back in. Flip it upside down. It is an 8mm. All right, now flip this on its side so that we can see this gap close. Because we don't want to go all the way. We just want the seal maker to start coming out a little bit. Actually, since I didn't put a huge amount of seal maker on there, I'll be able to come a little bit tighter. There we go. There we go. And I'm not going super tight. I'm just, for now, I will tighten these up more later. Just making sure they are snug. Okay. They are snug. Snug enough for me. Okay. Gasket maker came through. That's good. All right, so this is all cleaned up now. We're going to match that keyway up, which is right here. There we go. And that gap, we're probably going to have to adjust that. So it's a cone, so the high side up, and the washer. Perhaps I should have used this one, done this when I had it out. That's all right. Carb mount is on. We have our fuel lines in here, good to go. The bulb is good. It's not cracked, so it's actually good. I don't have to worry about replacing that. We do have the spring clip that's got to get cleaned and put back. Okay, where's my pick here? We're just getting this clamp back over. A little lip there. There we go. That is on. Yep, that's all the way on, I think. There we go. Now it's all the way on. Here. Through. Go. Okay. Make it a little bit easier. We got to do the oiler, which goes here. Just puts into the hole. There we go. Make sure that lines up. There we go. You're going to have to turn the crank to make sure that it lines up with the oiler gear that's in here. Okay, then you have your screws for the oiler. Okay. I will point out here, I know this isn't a restoration video. It's not making this as perfect as it absolutely can be because, well, honestly, it's not what was asked. I was asked just to get it, if I could get it running and operating correctly, and we came to an agreement that this is best to get it working in working condition so that it can be sold, and that is what we're going to do. So oiler's in there. Put the plate on. Okay, plate is on. It's all the way down. Next to do the sprocket and clutch. So we got our washer that goes on first. It's a flat washer. To my knowledge, it does not look concave at all. So the washer goes on. And then sprocket. Is up against it, and clutch, it is left-hand thread, and there is a special tool to take it off, though I kind of cheated the system a little bit and got it off without the special tool. But getting it back on seems to be a little more simple, especially since this side is right-handed. This side's keyed, and this side is, so I can just use that to spin it, which is nice. Good. Okay. So that's on. Okay, sprocket's in decent shape. Everything's moving. Good. It should be. All right. That's all back together. Now let's go to, let's do the front end here. We'll throw the muffler on. So we got our muffler, like the insert here that goes in the actual port itself. Let me wire brush it here. I didn't have my wire brush handy when I took it out. You'll see that only goes one way. It's got a more flat top and a more rounded bottom. Slips right in like so. And you have your shield that goes in. I'm trying to balance this on the spring here. Whoops, I'm going upside down. There we go. Goes on the hole like that. And then the actual muffler, gasket, and all that jazz goes right in. There we go. I believe that's also an 8mm. Correct. Muffler is back on. Give it a quick little spin here. Snug. Okay. Front end is back on. Now we'll spin over to this side. I know I gotta torque this. I forget. I think that was a 13. It sure is. Okay. Now this is where I saw this trick on, actually for tightness I shouldn't have to do that. Maybe I do still. So I saw the trick on line here that you take to keep this from the piston from spinning. You're going to take a bunch of rope, make sure it's clean. You're just going to start jamming it down inside. Make sure you're at the bottom of the stroke, which I believe is right there. So just fill the piston chamber with rope. That kind of jams it into place to allow you to be able to either loosen or in this case to tighten, because it has something keeping it from going anymore. There we go. And simply back it down. There we go. Got that rope out. Now we're good to go. That's tightened. Next up, we will put the carburetor in. Got our intake gasket. I'm actually going to take these limiters off right now. I will put them back on when it's all set for whoever gets it next. Let them deal with it. On this side on. Okay. Next up. Alright, so the handle is all back together now, or clean. It's clean enough to put this back together. There we go. Yeah. Alright, so we got one here, one here. The screw goes in. Next up, there's also, actually this is the one that had broken on me when I was trying to get it to run the first time. It was the one that mounts here to the actual engine block. There's there, that's there. Through. now we got to run the throttle cable. I should find it's easier to hook the throttle end to the carburetor before it gets put all the way in. Okay. Still have this to go in, which slides. Okay. Okay, that's back on. Take your 8mm again. Okay. Okay, that's moving smoothly. Wipe down this grommet. Even I don't see a functional reason which way this goes, but it appears the ribby side goes outward. Okay. Okay. We are, for all intents and purposes, back together. Funny, that fits better than it did when I took it off. Somebody must not have been lined up right when I took it off. Yeah, that's a perfect fit. Okay. All right, we are essentially all back together. I do need to... Actually, let me finish putting the isolator on. This is the machine. So you have one, like almost like a wood screw and one machine screw. The machine screw goes on the handle end of the... it's off. Then slide it. Goes in like so. Okay. And then that goes right to soft there. Okay. Come on. There we go. All right. So that's back to normal. All right, so that's all hooked up, good to go. Everything's free moving. Okay. All right. All right, for the initial settings here, I'm going to set them to 1.5 turns out. So 1.5. 1.5. Same thing with the timing screw, the idle screw. All right, we'll do 1.5. Okay, so the initial settings are done. I guess we can close this all up and then just wait a little bit for the gasket sealer to set, to be fully cured. Okay. We're essentially all back together. Might as well put the bar on. Might as well. We'll do that now. All right, we are back together, almost looking like a saw again. And we're gonna get rid of this old gas cap here. So the O-ring, pretty squished on it. It was leaking pretty bad. We have a new fuel filter in there, and we might as well put on a new, while we're doing all this, might as well do a new gas cap while we're at it. Oh man, that's much, much nicer. Alrighty, so this is pretty much a brand new motor now that the cylinder, piston, and crank seals and bearings have been replaced. Had it running just a minute ago.